And we are live. Welcome, everybody. My name is Dan C. Bearded. This is the Dr. Nick's Amazing Man Stuff YouTube channel. I host this weekly live stream with this wonderful gentleman next to me called the Doctor's Orders. And this is the Doctor of Time and Space himself, Mr. Nick Phelps, aka Mr. Dr. Nick, Mr. Amazing Man Stuff. Nick, that is an introduction. How are you doing, sir?
Dude, I feel like I need to drop your mic for you since you don't have one on over there. Yeah, no, dude, doing good. I feel like it's gonna turn into like one of those hype man things, you know. You got like Nick Phelps, aka Master Phelps, aka Dr. Nick.
Yeah, have to.
That'll be awesome. No, I'm doing great, man. Good to see everybody. What's up, everyone in the chat? And glad to see everyone's kicking things off for us, nice and strong as usual.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Brendan, he acts like he's in Texas. Exactly. I'm a full Texan now, Brendan. Full Texan. And yes, just for those of you that are not aware, I am on a family vacation, a little bit of business, but family vacation to San Antonio, Texas, and that kind of prompts our topic for today. And Nick will be able to kind of expand upon it with what's going on with him as well. And that is traveling with beard products, which we'll get into, guys. And I want you thinking of questions. I want you guys thinking of tips and tricks and experiences you guys have had, whether it's driving or flying. And we'll go over all of that today. But other than that, we're just going to talk and hang out. And you guys will be able to ask any kind of questions, and especially if it's travel related. Have you had any brisket? So no, me and Nick were just talking about barbecue.
First question.
Yeah, right. That was Nick's first question.
Hey Dan, how's Texas? Where have you eaten barbecue?
Exactly. So we have a couple of challenges with my family and barbecue. One, all four of us, other than Sam, has celiacs, which we can't have gluten. And barbecue is hit or miss. Like half of it seems to have gluten, half of it doesn't. And in Texas, they're not exactly the most super aware of celiacs and gluten and stuff. So that's been a challenge. And they Brendan, and they
I was just laughing at that.
And they also, Violet is a complete beast of a human, and so sitting down for long periods of time, especially if she's not super engaged, is very challenging. So we do more of fast casual, but we are going to be getting, the plan is at least to get some Tex-Mex tonight. So yeah. And you're a barbecue fan, Nick?
Oh yeah, whenever the weather is nice, and a lot of times when it's not, you'll find me out back next to my offset smoker. I do a style of barbecue that's like a mix of Texas and Georgia style barbecue. I kind of took the things I loved growing up around the country and kind of merged them into one. And I lived in Georgia for a while, and my roommates that I had there when I was in corporate housing, his dad owned a barbecue chain down there. And so finally, when they came off the no Yankees in the kitchen thing that I had to deal with down there for a long time, once they got over that, I got some good tricks that I kind of merged with what I learned out on the West Coast and do the thing. But no, I take my barbecue very serious. And I was joking with Dan before we jumped on here, guys, and I was like, he mentioned the thing about people not exactly being super aware or, hip up on the celiac and gluten-free stuff. I'm like, yeah, you're going to ask someone about some ribs if there's gluten in them. And she's like, no, sweetie, these are pork. That there's a rib. That is not a gluten. I don't know what that is, but I know that's not what that is.
So true. The phrase Yankee has been dropped a couple of times for me. So that has been interesting. And I've realized something. So and it's obviously playful, but the playful banter of the South, taking shots at the Yankees and the Northerners, it doesn't go both ways. In the North,
you cannot return that favor.
In the North, we're not allowed to play fun at the South. You can't say anything about that. Otherwise, you're prejudiced and a bigot and all these crazy things. But man, the shots at the Yankees in the North, they just come free flowing with no regard.
Well, look at a professional sports team. If one team wins the Super Bowl, it's okay for the underdog to make fun of the team who won.
Right.
But it's not okay for the guy holding the trophy to make fun of the quarterback who didn't win. You can't razz him.
Right.
So let's put that in context here of what's happened in history with the North and the South.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting, but
they're allowed to poke jokes. We're not.
I know it's super interesting because it's almost every person. There's some kind of Yankee comment, and like I said, it's always lighthearted and playful. But I'm like, I don't have an equivalent I could razz back at him with.
Oh man, yeah. The Yankees thing used to crack me up. It was like anything north of the Mason-Dixon. They were like, and I used to joke with them down there too in Georgia. I'd be like, I'm not a Yankee. Like I grew up all over the place. Like I've lived in the South more than I've lived in the North. And I'm like, I've been in Florida for the past, however long it was, like 6 years. And they're like, I don't know if you know this, but
that's not the
Florida,
South.
if you're in Florida, you have to go north to get to the South.
Right. Yeah, that's not the South.
Yeah. And they're like, that's different. Like, it doesn't count. Being from Florida doesn't mean you're from the South. Get out of here.
Right. And I said this last night on stream, but I almost feel like, and again, this is just my small sample size. I almost feel like Texas is like not quite the South either. Like I spent 4 days in Georgia just a couple months ago. I spent time in Alabama, Louisiana. Texas is nothing like those, even like the big cities in Georgia and stuff. Cause like I'm in San Antonio and people say you got to go outside of that. And you're right, I haven't. But the South, like Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, they seem very different than Texas.
Dude, they are way different. I mean, it's almost like, you got to divide it up into more than just, two halves. And then even more so, you got to do more than just 4 quarters, right? Because the Southwest is different than the Southeast in so many ways. And then there's like that middle ground where it's different. And like, to me, I don't know, just like Florida is different than the South. I think Louisiana is different than the typical South too, right? I mean,
Louisiana is unique. It's
Creole, it's Cajun, it's got this whole like French vibe to it. You know what I mean? It's very, very, very different than what you'd find. Yeah, that is where it ends. You're right.
I have heard the Panhandle. Yep.
And you're in Tallahassee, you feel like you're in the South. You go to Tampa, you're somewhere different, and you feel like you probably need antibiotics, but you're not quite sure why.
In the North too, the same thing. Like Yankees, obviously, we know the New York reference, and because back in the days, New York was the hub, and like New York is East Coast is vastly different than Midwest. But it's all lumped into Yankees. But it's like, no, visit Michigan for a week and then visit Connecticut for a week. Very different.
I remember my first introduction to New York was I moved up to here to the Northeast, and I had a customer down in Manhattan. And I get out of the train station and I was turned around and I was looking for something. I forget what I was looking for. I was looking for a building or a street. And so I was trying to find my customer and make it to a meeting. And I see this guy walk out of a building that I think is the building I'm supposed to go in. So I was going to ask him about the address just to see if he knew. And he's walking towards me and I'm like, hey, excuse me. And he keeps kind of like walking past me. And I was like, well, maybe you didn't hear me. And so I was like, excuse me. And I tapped his shoulder and he turns around and he's like, do not effing touch me. Do not talk to me. And I was like, okay, he did hear me. He just chose to not engage. And I was like, this is the New York I keep hearing about. This is pretty cool.
Right. You experienced it in the wild.
I did. Do not touch me. Do not talk to me.
Yeah.
Just turned around and kept walking. I was like,
my first restaurant experience in Connecticut, I literally cannot tell you on stream the waitress's first sentences to me and my party. And I looked over at the person that I was with and I was like, do you know her? And he goes, nope, never seen her in my entire life. And like the way she was talking to us was, whoa, welcome to the East Coast. Like it was unbelievable. I said the word last night that I used to describe it is brash. Like every interaction was brash.
I could see that being a valid description for a lot of Connecticut. I think Connecticut with that attitude, I think bleeds into New York a lot. I'm not saying that everyone everywhere is like that, obviously.
Exactly.
But it's like, the majority, right, is kind of who you lump into these. And I'd definitely say you're on par there.
Yeah. Abrasive. That abrasive is a good word for it too. Brash, abrasive. So yeah, see, Jill. Yeah, exactly.
You were just brash. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I really like about New England, though, and I appreciated this shortly after moving up here, and I was, you know, obviously bouncing around so much and living a lot in the South and West Coast, I was worried about the stereotypes of people being harsh and rude. And what I figured out is that humans as a whole always have things that they're thinking that are negative about someone else or positive. Everyone's got their thoughts that are like your inner dialogue, you know? And what I realized about the Northeast is that people's opinions are actually no different about you than they are anywhere else in the world. It's just we don't have much of a filter, so you know exactly what it is that we're thinking about you.
Yeah.
You know, if you're standing on an escalator taking up the whole thing and not standing over to the right in California at the Irvine, you know, mall, you get 50 people behind you and no one will say a word. They will stand there and wait until you get to the end. And then when they walk away, they'll talk to their friends like, God, that guy's never used an escalator before, I guess.
Yeah, that's Michigan.
But up here in the Northeast, and meanwhile, you've had someone thinking terrible things about you that whole time and you never knew it. But up here in the Northeast, someone's like, hey, asshole, move to the right. You stand to the right if you're not walking. And you're like, oh, shoot, my bad. Then you move over and they're like, yeah, you're bad, whatever. And they keep walking. And you're like, well, hey, I know exactly what that guy thought about me. He thought I was an idiot who didn't know how to use an escalator. And he told me.
Yep. Yeah. The only difference in Michigan, they would probably wait. But if they told you, they would probably start harsh, like you said. And then when you would say, oh, my bad, they would come back and like bring it back.
Okay.
Like, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. Like I remember. Yeah.
No, I do that all the time too.
Exactly.
Exactly. They'll try to identify with you right afterwards.
Even though it's not true, they just want to make you feel good.
They're almost there, right? I mean, that's like going from Washington attitude. You're halfway over, so they got to be a little harsh, but then they got to make you feel okay after.
Yes.
I think that's just creating a culture of Stockholm syndrome, where they're mean to you, but then they make you identify with them and also be compassionate towards their situation.
Right. Yeah. There's definitely something there, and it's like a learned quality.
It literally is.
Yeah. That's so true. But yes, guys, travel. So I'm going to talk about my experience. I want you guys to be able to talk about yours. But first, Nick, you have some travel plans coming up. What's going on in your near life?
Oh, man, I'm going to be, just a few short hours. Like as soon as this stream ends, I'm saying, have a good rest of your trip. See you later. And I'm hitting hang up and I'm running away because I got to go home and get the rest of my stuff packed up. I'm actually flying out tonight to go down to Philly until Friday. I'm down there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, down there seeing a couple of one of my partners and a customer for the cybersecurity consulting and software side of what I do. And so I'm going to spend a few days down there, and they have this awesome, they have a whole floor in one of these giant towers downtown. And then next door is hotel/resident condos in another big high rise. So you can buy a condo there, you can rent condos, and they also have hotel ones they treat as hotel rooms and rent out. So my customer and my partner, they actually have so many people coming in all the time that they just bought a few of the condos in that building.
Wow.
And they just have the hotel manage them as property managers. So whenever you're going to come down, they book you in a condo. And if you have stuff that you're used to being in there, like I like my little espresso maker and the other stuff, like they stock it up and make sure you have all your stuff for your trip.
Wow.
And the two buildings are connected on like the 18th floor, I think, or 28th floor. So it's like you get there, you check in, you go up or down to the 28th floor and just walk across a hallway and you're in the office building where I got to go.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Big infinity pool between the two sections there, overlooking like 28 floors up. It's a pretty cool setup. Awesome gym. Like if you have to travel and you got to be somewhere to go see a customer, this is one of the ones I really don't mind doing, because at least you get to be comfortable and you have all your stuff that you're used to, and a bunch of good friends down there. And, I'm sure there's going to be a steak and cheese from Jim's in my future, which isn't a disappointing thing at all.
There you go.
But, all the things come along with it. What I was going to do to support this stream is the stuff that I use when I'm on the road. People have asked about, if we're coming out with travel size stuff, things like that. And until we do, I just kind of share with people how, I usually package things to travel with them. So I was going to take a series of shots this week that we'll post on Instagram. I'm just kind of going over, like, what does my bathroom counter look like when I'm taking over a hotel room? And, what is it? What stuff do I have with me? How do I package it? We'll talk about some of that today, but there's a movie theater too. Oh, there is a movie theater. Yeah, that thing's awesome. I had a really bad migraine one day, so I just went in the movie theater and I turned on like one of their like ambient screensavers, and I just sat down in there and closed my eyes trying to relax. And I woke up to like a family of 4 watching a movie 2 rows in front of me, with me like snoring in the back row, taking a nap in this in this movie theater.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's nice.
But yeah, I figure we'll follow this up this week. We'll just kind of keep it going throughout the whole week, right? We'll talk about kind of travel planning and what we do and prep and how we travel and stuff that is kind of a pain in the butt traveling with a beard versus not. And then we'll kind of back it up with a bunch of content this week and kind of keep the stream rolling on Instagram.
For sure. And a couple of things, guys. We have 40 of you in here right now. That is amazing. Thank you for being here. As Jill said to start, how fast time flies with 30 episodes. Unbelievable, you guys. Thank you for support. If you guys don't mind, please hit that thumbs up just to show that you are excited to be here and you appreciate this content. And then to kind of piggyback on that, I drove from Flint, Michigan down to San Antonio. So 22-hour drive.
But you guys pretty much drive everywhere you go as a family. You typically just road trip it.
100%. Yep. When we do the East Coast, where we're going to see you guys and stuff this summer, that we're driving there as well. So yes. Nice. Yeah, we like driving. We like the experience, and Sam doesn't like flying, so it makes it pretty simple. And I don't like the price of flying. So
no, the price of flying sucks. And the price of gas isn't much better. But I mean, if you look at the hell you go through in the flight cost for a whole family, plus then rental cars and everything else, it's just, I don't know, the couple extra, the extra day in the beginning and at the end, it's kind of worth it.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And so couple of things. We had a great question here by Chris. He said, does that have anything to do with the Guess What IG post? So what Nick's talking about is nothing to do with those Guess Whats. But if you don't know about that, make sure you guys check out the Dr. Nick's Instagram. There's a fun little series going on right now with a potentially new product coming out in the future. And there's been a lot of guesses and nobody's really been close yet. So I'm excited to see where everyone goes, but no one's got it. I don't think even in the ballpark yet.
No, I don't think anyone's got it. And it's been lots of fun, obviously. And of course, everyone that has my cell phone number or my personal email, I'm getting texts like, hey man, is it this? Is it that? I want to put down a guess. Is it this? Is it that? And I'm like, oh man, I even made Dan guess at this one. Like this one, no hints, no spoilers. This isn't Tumblr. Yep. We're not giving out Harry Potter secrets before the last movie here. This didn't happen.
Yep. It is pretty cool. And so back to the travel stuff. So one thing that I want to point out, and then I'll kick it to Nick to talk about his plan of attack, is with the different experience of driving and flying, there are some rules, and I have a video on my Dancy Bearded YouTube channel. There are some rules when it comes to flying with beard products or any kind of products for that matter. And essentially, you can pack whatever you would like in your checked luggage. So make sure you pack it in your checked luggage. If you bring your carry-on, it has to be 3.4 fluid ounces or less. So if you have something like a beard wash, you want to bring it in a travel container and have it smaller. Your beard oils should be fine unless you have 4-ounce oils, which is interesting. As most of you know, I'm going to see Beard Brand tomorrow, and they have moved to 4-ounce containers. And that's all they have. They don't have smaller options now. And that's one of the things I want to ask them about. Like, has that become a concern? You literally can't travel with any, if you're just carry on, which if I'm flying, it's always by myself and it's usually for like a weekend or a short week. I don't ever bring like a checked luggage. I'm always carry on in a backpack. And so if like, let's say that was a company that I really wanted to like really get into, that would completely limit my travels. So something to consider there, and Leo's exactly right here. You do want to pack in a smart way. Put your oils in a baggie and make sure that it is closed. You don't know what could happen with stuff moving around and everything. And
air pressure.
Exactly. Air pressure really can change things, and especially depending on the top. Now, one thing I will say is we made a post recently, and I'll let Nick touch on this too. But we made a post recently about the dropper tops. We've had a couple of people that have reached out and said things like, hey, Dr. Nick's Dan, how do you open their bottles? And I'm like, well, it's a child-proof lock. You just simply push down and turn. And so a couple people had reached out to Nick as well. And so we made a post saying, like, hey, this is how you open these tops. One big benefit that I've noticed with childproof tops, especially with Dr. Nick's, is they don't leak, like,
They don't
at
leak.
all. At all. I cannot imagine a situation where that could happen. So with that in mind, guys, if you're flying, what is your approach with beard products? What are some tips and tricks that you have? And then Nick, number one, what's your plan of attack? And then number two, any feedback or thoughts on where your brain is at with the dropper tops and the childproof locks with just the most recent comments and stuff?
So my first thought with the childproof tops is that if we did an instructional video about them, what I was going to do to explain why they're hard to open when you receive them is I was going to do like a deep fake video where I get like some like gigantic wrestler bodybuilder to sit there like torquing our lids on, but have Jill's face on the bodybuilder. So it'd be like, sorry, here's our bottling line. And it's like some like 350-pound dude torquing these bottles on. Contrary to popular belief, they are not machine applied. Those are applied by hand by Jill or her sister.
Yep.
Neither one of which who are bodybuilders. So I promise they do come off.
Hey, she works out every day. She's killing.
She does work out every single day. Gym membership is doing wonders, but let's not give her personal trainer too much credit over at OPEX South Shore. And so what the, you don't have to put them back on as tight as they are when we ship them. I mean, we've had people really struggle with these things to the point where we've had like, an email would come in on a Friday and we don't get to it until Monday. And some poor person sitting there thinking their top is broken and hasn't been able to use their new beard oil all weekend because they couldn't get it open. And we're like, no, just give it a really good press down and turn. And after you do that once and get it back on there and just kind of give it a fingertip crank, it's not going to be that hard to remove the next time. But I like them in the sense of a few things. One is, the intent obviously is to keep hands out of the beard oil. When I had beard oil and my son was really young, he would get into anything. And he was one of those kids that would literally open the most random bottles and drink the contents.
Yeah.
And so, it's just depends on, it depends on how tight Jill applies it when she gets it on there. I would imagine it also has something to do with one top to another. Maybe one is going to seal more tightly than the others, but I could definitely see, it being tough for some people like me having like carpal tunnel and tendon issues in my hands and stuff in the morning. If it's a brand new bottle, I have struggled with them and I'm like, and I really finally have to like really get your hand in there. But once you get the technique down and you press on it good enough, it spins just fine.
Yeah. And for me, I don't know if it's an experience thing because I've been doing this for so long, but it doesn't cross my mind. Like I am by no means like a super strong guy or anything like that, but it doesn't like I don't think about opening any kind of tops. Like I use Dr. Nick's a ridiculous amount and I never once have been like, okay, childproof lock, let me make sure I do this. I've never had any resistance with it. It just seems like it's like, no pun intended, it's just butter for me. It just goes through so easily. And I understand that people have problems with it. I just don't, it never came up in my mind until you had shared that some people had been reaching out with some concerns.
Yeah. And I think if I'm going to, it's one of those things where, me, right? If I hear someone complain about something, it doesn't matter if it's 2 people or 100 people. I always have the initial reaction to want to fix it.
Always.
And to make it better. So like when I got my 4th request about like, hey, how do I open this damn thing? My first reaction was, all right, change the lids. And then we started talking about it. Then we're going to need plastic around the whole bottle that's shrink wrapped or something to keep it from leaking. And if I have to choose, like maybe 1 out of 100 people having a hard time opening the bottle versus, 20 out of 100 people having leaks in their shipping, I think I'm just going to have to deal with the one-offs and give some extra instruction when people have a problem, because I think are they childproof tops? That's how they're branded. Yes. Is that really our primary focus with using them to make them childproof? No, it's definitely the main focus of the childproof caps is to prevent leaking. And the benefit there is that the threads literally cannot loosen up because there's plastic, then rubber, then glass, right? And when you sandwich the rubber between the plastic and the glass, it creates a good seal. There's no way for those threads to loosen up unless that top is engaged and pressed down and turning. So your likelihood of getting something vibrating and the top kind of loosening up as it's in shipping, it just doesn't happen with the childproof one. So I think that's the biggest reason why they're here to stay.
Yeah, and that I agree. I never had any kind of leak in with it. And I did bring number 7 with this trip. I took some really cool pictures and stuff. I do need you to read this comment very, very carefully and out loud, please.
This one here. I was really bad as a kid. Drank gasoline. Ate the deodorizer out of the toilet. I guess I liked having my stomach pumped.
Oh my God.
Nice work, Judd. So the deodorizer out of the toilet. Can we just pause on that for a moment? Really zero in on what's happening here.
Please do.
All right. Now, they call them urinal cakes, right? So right there, you're a young kid, the word cake right in the damn name. You don't want me to eat it, don't call it cake. First of all. So
right.
I'm just going to focus on that one for a minute. But holy crap, the gasoline. Wow. That is a good one, dude. Like, that is, stomach pump central. I wouldn't call you a bad kid. Maybe you just really liked the emergency room.
Yeah, and it does. When you put it like that, it makes sense. It
really does all start making sense now.
Oh, yeah. And then car bomb, he said spicy mints, right? Like that's what they look like.
Oh, and I was waiting for Wilson to come in on this one. There he is, Chris Wilson. Blue biscuits.
Right. It's like a giant sweet tart.
Yeah.
Is what it seems like.
The spectrum of a giant Sour Patch Kid, maybe.
Right. Yeah, I haven't tried personally, but it's
no. I can't speak from experience here. I was at a store one time that sold an inhalant thing. It was like a novelty store that sold all kinds of like random paraphernalia and novelty things, and we like stopped in for something stupid late at night in California, and I had my friend with me who looked down and he's like, "What's those?" And the guy's like, "Oh, those are poppers." And he's like, "What do they do?" He's like, "Oh, they mess you up." And my buddy, he's like, "I'll take one." He did not know that it was an inhalant, which I do not recommend. He punched his key through the top of it and drank it. Those things are made out of solvent. It's like a solvent-based video head tape cleaner that they sell for all sorts of terrible, nefarious reasons. And right there in the store, after a couple too many beers, he just drank it.
Oh.
So things not to do while traveling. We'll include that here today as well.
For sure.
No drinking gas.
Yep. I don't know if this next story was in Florida or not, but it sounds like it would be, but it's similar to all the ones we're talking about. There was a rapper that was filming a music video. It's probably 5-6 years ago now, where it was like a really popular phase to like buy gasoline cans and put liquor in them, like new ones. And then you drink out of like the gasoline cans that you fill up like your tractor and stuff with, or like you have a spare for your car if you run out of gas.
Like kids are doing now with Borg out of the clear plastic bottles. That trend.
Right. It's very, very similar. So they would do that. Well, they had a music video where this guy was filming a rap video, and it may have been in Detroit actually. And he went to go drink it like it was his alcohol, and it was gasoline, and he died. Like it took his life, which is crazy. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, right.
Give that a quick little whiff. I know things get caught up in the throes of production, but you'd think you'd be like, that's my vodka or whatever you're drinking. You know what I mean?
Donald kills it with this comment. So true. Right. Nowadays, kids did like the Tide Pod challenge, and a lot of we could say like the old heads, right? That's a compliment to experienced people. They are like, this generation is so dumb. It's weak. It's horrible. Like these kids are idiots. And then the next story, they'll be like, yeah, when I drank gasoline, that was crazy. It's like how can you criticize? And it's, like every generation has its new thing. Like, oh, these phones are going to be killing this generation. Then before it was rock and roll. Then before it was these things,
Dude, my buddy literally just sent me a meme the other day. I think it might have been Chris Wilson on here. He sent me this thing saying that people will always complain about progress and about talking about, new generations, old generations. And he sent me this old propaganda poster of people that were protesting against the use of electricity.
Oh,
And it was
geez.
like, don't let electricity into your home, not
Oh
in our
my,
neighborhood. And
oh
it
my
like
gosh.
people tangled in electrical wires being electrocuted to death and like lightning bolts coming out of the sky, zapping everybody. And I was like, wow,
Unbelievable.
people, yeah, it's like the newer yeah, and like the old generation, new generation thing. I remember, it's like my mom. It's like, we see things about all the things kids are doing these days, and she's like, oh my God, she's like, the things kids are doing is crazy. And then she tells me a story about like they were playing cops and robbers in the woods next to her house when she was a kid, tied one of the kids up to a tree, then decided to play hide and seek, forgot about him, and they had like a search party going out looking for this kid. And eventually all the kids were like, oh yeah, no, yeah, we tied him up in the woods. We totally forgot about that.
Wow.
Let's go get him.
Exactly.
And it's like, if that
Exactly.
happened today, it would have been like group of teenagers ties a young boy to a
Yeah.
tree just to see what happens.
Yeah.
New TikTok trend.
Yeah, right. Hazing ritual gone wrong. Is this generation doomed?
Yeah, we need better tying to tree laws.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So yeah, I find that funny when you look back on it, because every time now it's like AI, right? Oh my gosh, the world's gonna end with AI. Well, yeah, like you said, they talked about that with electricity, with the internet, with the iPhone, with rock and roll.
Yep.
Everything was gonna end the world. And it's like you can either adapt and overcome, or you can complain and get left behind.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's what it is. Everyone's, it's like that book about, who moved my cheese.
Yeah,
It's like
we've talked about that.
Yeah. People are scared of change. They like their patterns, but holy crap. No,
Yeah.
it's so crazy.
So funny. And Leo has brought a couple of good tips here too.
I saw a couple of them come through.
Yeah, and I still want to hear your plan of attack for this. But he says I always check luggage because he wants scissors and a Swiss Army knife. Interesting. I don't bring either of those, so that never crossed my mind. But I understand where he's going with that. And then here's a great point.
I was actually going to bring this up before he said it too. It's a super good point. Most people don't realize this.
Correct, because it's not about the amount of product that you bring. It's about the container size.
It is.
And it is so much more preferable to actually have it printed. So if you do get a travel container, my advice is at least make sure on the bottom it's noted the size of that container. Because if they can't, and so much of it depends on which TSA agent you get and what mood they're in at that point. And so you want to make sure you're careful as that. So to really explain this, he said TSA goes by weight marked on the bottle. 2 ounces is not a 2 ounce in weight or volume, whatever one is marked. 2 ounces in 8-ounce bottle is a no-go. Great point there by Leo.
Super true. Like if you had our beard butter and it was like halfway full, you'd be like, oh, that's less than 2 ounces of beard butter. Well, the container says 4, so no fly.
Yep.
And still, even though you don't need to, like they say, like, oh, just keep your liquids and stuff, liquids, gels, aerosols, keep those separate in a clear plastic bag, this size, that, and that. I do the thing where I take my whole toiletry bag with all of my liquids in it, and I just take the whole toiletry bag and put it right on the X-ray. What's funny is before things slowed down from COVID and I was traveling a bunch, in 2019, in 1 year, I completed 224 flight legs.
Whoa.
So not separate flights, just different legs of
wow.
etc. So 1 year, 224 separate gate check-ins, you can call it. And I was at JetBlue's highest mosaic thing. They gave me whatever I wanted, to the point where if I was checking on a flight and got stuck at security, I actually had JetBlue call me from a gate on my cell phone. And, hey, Mr. Phelps, your flight is done boarding. We're just wondering, are you close? Are you in the terminal? And I'm like, oh, I'm at security right now. I can run. They're like, okay, yeah, we'll hold the door for you. And like you get there and
man,
waiting with a bottle of water, and they like take really good care of you. So I got really good at getting through security without slowing down.
Yeah.
Whole toiletry bag, put it on there, because there could be other stuff in there that you might not even think would look like a liquid on the X-ray, but it does. Another thing I've learned about traveling that's just general, and aside from just the beard products, when I send some photos out on Instagram later, I'll kind of show more than just the bathroom stuff, but also the just other things I use for travel that people might find interesting. I use this really cool little board that has a bunch of elastic straps on it. And you can take all your electronics, all your cables, your chargers, your other batteries, cords, other stuff, and you put them all in these little flat it's called Grid It. And you put them all on this little flat board, and it's all elasticed onto this thing with bungees. And so you have one board that's got like all your stuff you'd need on your nightstand or on your desk in the hotel. That, since it has wires and it's not a packaged electronic, this is funny, if you're overly organized like I am, overly organized electronics and cables can look very suspicious on an X-ray. If you're one of those people that just throws everything in a bag and you got all your cables in there, great. It's going to look like the mess that most people's bags look like.
Yeah.
If you're like me and everything is laid out flat, individually coiled and Velcroed inside of an elastic strap, holding it onto a board, that looks a little suspicious. So I've learned that I take that out and I put it next to my laptop on the thing. So I got my laptop, I got all my cables organized, and then I got a separate thing with my shoes and my toiletries. You put all those through the X-ray and away you go. And I always get chuckles from TSA, and they're like, "Oh, you've done this before." That came out, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that looks a little funny on the X-ray." They're like, "Oh, I can see how that looked funny on the X-ray." And but I've had people literally, I've had my bag searched because of over organization before.
Yeah, I know that is definitely like something I would never think of, but it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. So
the tackle box is a good idea to keep things organized.
Yep. I've heard of that, or similar ones to that. That makes a lot of sense there as well. So with and Leo says, strange beard brand went to 4 ounces. They used to have, exactly. They used to have even their wash and conditioner was TSA. So I just thought that was an interesting move. And so, Nick, what are you going to be bringing as far as beard care? Like everything related to your beard. What is going on this, like, what is it, 3-day trip?
Yeah, it's a short one, And so what's weird about me is I take the same stuff with me on a 3-day trip that I do on a 7-day trip that I take on a 14-day trip. Like,
okay.
And honestly, just because it's the way my brain works, I have certain containers I like. I fill them all the way up typically. And when I get home, I just squirt them back into wherever they came from, or just use the container in the shower until they're empty, then rinse them and put them away.
There you go.
But I'm bringing everything that I normally use. So like I'm bringing wash, beard wash, beard conditioner. I have those in little silicone squeeze bottles.
Yeah, we have those too.
Yep. The goo tubes or whatever.
Yes, literally. Yep.
Yeah, I love those things. I get them from REI. I think you can get them at Dick's. I think you can Amazon, of course. Fantastic. And then so I keep those and those little guys, which I'll send photos of. And then a bigger version of that same thing, I put body wash in there. I also bring face wash with me. And then in the shower, one thing I do not bring with me yet, because we don't make one yet. And I think what I'm going to do is probably make like smaller versions of these that are just somewhat travel disposable or something. I don't travel with like my loofah cloth, right? Because I don't want to bring it with me wet, because that sucks. And I don't want to bring it with me and then bring it back because it'll be wet when I bring it back, right? So I do the thing where I still bring body wash, not bar soap, and I just use the washcloth that's in the hotel. As much as I hate doing it, I just do it. And so that's the in the shower stuff. And I use the face wash on my head and everywhere else as well. So I don't need anything else really. It's just beard wash, beard conditioner, face wash, body wash.
Okay.
And then for out of the shower, I bring a beard oil just in the oil bottle that it comes in, our normal glass bottles, which is fine in my toiletry bag next to all the silicone stuff. Kind of gives it some padding. And then I bring a balm stick, which is fine to travel with as well. It's only 2 ounces. And then I also bring another little, also from REI, a little plastic container with a screw on top, like a little mini tub. And I put beard butter in that before we come out with our 2-ounce butter, which will make that part a lot easier. Oh, so for sure. It's basically the full thing. And then I have my I bring a comb with me. I have my Aberlite Pro heat brush with me. And then I also travel with my Braun Series 9 trimmer to be able to shave my head every morning and keep up on the cheeks and the sideburns a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm fully loaded.
That's awesome. Hey, Rob, welcome, buddy. So Leo and again, Leo, thank you for all the tips. He's had some great ones today. He said because of TSA, he got rid of his kit, replacing it with 311. Now, I feel like I should know this reference, but I'm always open to us. I don't know what that is. Do you know what the 311 reference is?
311. I feel like I've seen that like on a sign somewhere, like in an airport, like follow the
Yeah.
311 rule.
Leo, can you explain at all what that means? I would love to learn. And then, so Donald says, put a loofah in a Ziploc bag. Okay. Buy a cheap loofah
And
and
I have
gloss
done
it.
that. And I've done that too. I've done like the cheap loofah thing where I just throw it away when I leave. And if I'm staying somewhere for more than a few days, I do that. I'll bring a fresh one with me. And I know it's just a burner. Like I'm just going to leave it in the trash can when I leave and come home without it.
Nice.
Because oddly enough, unless you put it in your toiletry bag, if something is damp and in a bag like that, you need to pull that out at TSA too.
Oh, really? Because of it being damp?
Yep, because it'll show up as a liquid.
I did not know that. Okay,
yeah, the
I've never
X-rays
done
are
that
full
method.
color, so they identify the material and then they highlight the materials in different colors. So if the X-ray machine highlights something as liquid, even though it's not, they still have to inspect it to make sure it's not a liquid.
Okay, interesting. All right, so he's suggesting a certain kind of cloth or a dollar store knockoff. He said it dries near instantly.
Yeah, and the Solix cloth, I think, is what I refer to as the loofah cloth, right? It's like the loofah material, but like a cloth, I think is what you're saying there, Leo.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never heard of that one either.
Yeah.
And so
Leo's got some good terminology, man. We're gonna need to get up with Leo.
Leo, he's always dropping gems and knowledge and great questions, man. I really appreciate Leo.
We gotta link up with him so we can keep up on what all the young gohards are doing these days.
For sure.
Leo's gonna keep us hip.
Yeah, for sure. And okay, so 311 is 3 ounces max, 1 quart bag, one bag.
I have seen that on a sign for TSA. It's like 3 ounce max, 1 quart bag, 1 bag total. Yeah, 311.
Okay. I'm still okay. So 3 ounce max, 1 quart bag. What's the 1 quart bag?
The bag should be a 1 quart bag that's holding all the stuff, and you can only have one of them.
Okay. 3 ounces, 1 bag, 1 quart bag, and 1 bag total. Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. It seems like a simple but good rule to follow.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, even driving anywhere. Yeah, tossing. You know what's funny is Jill does, Chris, what Jill does that with her toothbrushes. Oh, yeah, there she is. Yeah, I do that with my toothbrush and loofah so you can throw it away before she heads back home.
There you go. Yep. So
she does that every time. She doesn't like to keep a toothbrush that's touched the counter at a hotel because she hates doing it while she's even doing it, and it'll go in a cup. But once something has been gone through by housekeeping and everything else, she's like, that's going in the trash as soon as humanly possible.
I can respect that. Yeah, I absolutely. For me, we always drive, as you guys know. And so the nice benefit of driving is you can pack a lot more because you don't have TSA and you don't have as much of a confined space for your packing ability.
Right.
So I usually take a whole lot more than I probably need. That's just kind of the side we err on. Sam takes way more of every single thing in life than she needs. So I just balance it out with my beard products. So it's, for me, I just pretty much take everything. I just take what I use, what I want. With the exception, I use a loofah at home, but I don't bring a loofah. The only time I really use a washcloth is when I'm on vacation or traveling. So I just use the washcloth.
Yeah, same. And it's like, I always feel like such a jerk too, because I'm like always sitting there and like, you got to leave it in the side of the shower or something. Then when you're leaving, this wet washcloth sitting there, you got to put it with your towels or something. And I'm one of these people, and so is Joe. Like we like pre-clean before we know housekeeping because we don't want them to think we're gross.
So, dude, same. We've never had like housekeeping or anything at our house, which I know I have friends that do, and they do the same thing. They're like, the wife goes crazy and cleans before the housekeeper gets there. But we do the same thing in the hotel room. We're like terrified that they're like, I clean up all my beard hair, which and it's probably right. That's probably the courteous thing to do. Like I'm not like saying that's something outrageous, but I do. I'm like, I don't want the housekeeping to see all this beard hair in the sink or anything. So I clean up all my beard hair.
Yeah. I'm the exact same way. I'm like, oh God, I don't want them to think they got some like, wildebeest living in here.
Right.
It's got to at least appear like a respectable human once in a while.
Here's a great question by Donald that I feel like you'll know. I have no idea because I've never done TSA pre-check, but is there a difference of TSA pre-check versus regular? All I know is one difference, because my dad does this, is you don't have to take your belt off in TSA pre-check.
Or shoes. Yeah.
Or shoes.
The only difference with pre-check when it comes to what you can travel with in fluids is whether or not you have to take them out of your bag or get them inspected or get them looked at. It still has the same requirement of what can make it onto the cabin of the airplane. It's just with TSA PreCheck, you don't need to take your liquids out of the bag, and you don't need to take your shoes or anything else off for a belt. And you're just going through a metal detector, not a body scanner typically.
Okay. All right. Good. Great question. Good answer. And guys, keep these tips coming. I'm learning, and I know there's a lot of people that at least it's food for thought. Car Bomb says, and if you guys don't know, that's a play on his last name that sounds like Car Bomb. And so that's why he goes with there. I remember seeing his name for the first time and being like, what's this all about? But people have confused his last name. But he says, I even take old socks and underwear so I can toss them as I go and have room for anything I buy. Put on an old shirt so it can be dressed. That is so smart.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I've done that where like, you're going to buy something somewhere. So you bring some old crappy shirts with you and then donate them while you're out, like just toss them and then put your new stuff in. And then I was in an airport one time. I had a canceled flight and there was this store there that carried these. I'd always heard about them. I've seen like flight attendants with them and stuff and pilots, these Briggs and Riley suitcases. And I was traveling so much that it was okay to spend a little cash on a suitcase. But to solve that problem, Car Bomb, it's like your normal, 4 wheels on the bottom. You can roll it along with you. Suitcase, I like them because it has the handle and I can put my laptop bag over it. I travel with one of two things. I'll go over theirs in a minute. When I am traveling for work and I need my actual roll-on with a laptop bag, this thing's awesome. It's inside the main compartment. You open it up and there's 2 handles on the side that have ratcheting plastic frames to them. And you pull the handles and you can make it bigger.
Wow.
So it opens up and makes it fatter. So when you're packing, you pop it all the way open and you pack all your stuff in there, zip it closed. And then on the outside, you push down on it and it goes click, 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 click. And it compresses the whole suitcase. So if you travel down there and you're traveling light, pack it loose, flattened all the way down. And then when you're coming back, load it all the way up and just don't flatten it down as much. And you got like an extra room for an extra 4 pairs of pants, 5 shirts, and whatever hell else you pick up while you're gone.
That makes sense. Yeah, that
comes a lot of in sense. Really handy. Yeah. But I either travel with that or I travel with that roll-on in my laptop bag if I'm going for a business trip. If I'm going somewhere where there's lots of bouncing around activities, or I'm going to be like going to Europe and then jumping on trains and then staying in an Airbnb.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like rolling something. I have an Osprey convertible backpacking bag that has the wireframe in the back. And what's cool about this one, it's their Fairview convertible, where you have it. There's a laptop backpack that zips onto the front of the big pack. So you can have like your electronics, all of your stuff that you'd take out with you for a day. And then all your clothes and all your other gear. And then when you get to where you're going, you unzip the little backpack off the front, take all your electronics out of it and stuff. And you got your daytime backpack where you're going around, whatever you're doing, you have your backpack with you. And so it's kind of nice in the sense that travel with one thing on your back and then it turns into 2. One stays at your home base, one goes with you during the day.
Okay. That makes sense.
Those come in really handy.
Awesome. Ellie has a great question, guys. And I see that Leo answered in the chat. She would like to know the longest flight you've been on. Leo said Oakland to Vietnam or back. Like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. For me, definitely from Detroit to Athens, Greece. Right after I graduated college, I did some work with the national team for water polo, and then I actually played professional water polo for 3 months in Greece. And so that was by far my longest one. And it was pretty brutal. Like it was.
How many hours is that? That's like 14 hours or something.
I was gonna say it was somewhere around 16 hours, if I remember correctly, or 12 to 16. It was somewhere in that range. Yeah, exactly.
That's brutal.
Yeah, it was really brutal, and I was by myself, so I didn't have anybody or anything. But what about you? What's your longest? I know you have some long ones.
No, so like oddly enough, all my big long ones have been broken up by layovers. Like from East Coast going over to Europe is usually broken up with Iceland. Going to Hawaii is always broken up by LA. And so on either side of that, you have a 6 to 8 hour flight. I'd say probably the longest like single leg, it would have to be going from Boston direct to Europe. You got potentially a 10-hour flight because it's like 4 to 6 to Iceland, then 4 from there. So yeah, I'd say from like East Coast to Amsterdam back to the East Coast is probably my longest one. But
Okay.
I've been fortunate, most of mine are pretty broken up. Got my business partner Tom though, he's been on some 18 and 20-hour flights going to like direct flights to Australia. I know Wilson's done a long flight to Australia.
22.
Yeah, 22 hours.
Wow.
Yep. And so that's a crazy one. And, dear God, I can only imagine the company he had on that flight too. And so we have like, probably my business partner Tom, he goes to Malaysia. He used to go to Malaysia a lot. Those were 18-hour flights. And I was talking to him about it. I'm like, man, like, what do you do come like hour 14? Like, are you just hoping to God you get distracted into a movie or just going stir crazy?
Yeah. I don't know. And Leo, thank you for the clarification on the 311 rule. I do want to throw out one slight clarification just because if people are packing and trying to plan this out, I don't want someone like going crazy because they thought they were just a little bit off. I'm almost positive the rule is 3.4 ounces. I know you've mentioned 3.2 a couple times, Leo, but I'm 99% sure it's 3.4 ounces. Rather than 3.2. So I think Nick's checking on that real quick.
Check. Yeah, there we go. Limited to it. Although you are right and wrong on this post because it is 3.4 ounces, which is 100 milliliters.
Okay. So just the different conversions there. That's what I thought. So if it's 3.4 under, and that the only reason I want to clarify is most like of the travel things, like the goo ones, they are 3.4. So I don't want somebody having one and being like, oh my gosh, I can't use this. It was so close. So yeah, 3.2. And then yes, why are we not on the metric system in the US? I don't want to get started.
I don't know. We need a whole like rant of a stream that just focuses on why are we not on metric?
Like what's easier to understand, 3.4 ounces or 100 milliliters?
Super easy. like really quick math. Give me half of what that is. Okay, right. 50 milliliters.
Exactly. That's give me half.
You're like 1.5, 1. Okay, 1.6.
Yeah. 3.4 even harder to split in half. Or like, why do we have 12 inches rather than breaking it into tens? Like,
oh, it's so messed up, dude. I was seeing someone do the comparison of like, okay, so our rulers have centimeters on them because we know those make sense. But then we have that with inches next to it. Yeah. So like, you go to like a millimeter, centimeter, millimeter, you got kilometers, right? You got all these units of measurement that perfectly fold into themselves with units of 10 and 100 and everything makes great sense. And then you got inches, feet, yards, and miles, none of which have any relationship to each other and they're not divisible or multiplied the same way. But let's go with that.
Like, yeah, America, we got to be different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Every time we think of something like that, you say America afterwards. All I can think about is Team America, where like, they're going through like the song of everything that's been invented in the United States. And they're like, pizza, heck yeah. The internet, heck yeah. Sushi, heck yeah.
Right. Oh man,
none of us are made in America.
Unbelievable. So, but yeah, traveling, man, take what you need. Make sure you bring. I always, of course, have my comb. That's one of the things I love about the Chicago comb number 8. Is it's everything that I need. It's my styling comb, it's my shower comb, it's my detangler, and you're not going to break it, right? If you travel with something that's like an animal horn comb, you're going to have a shot to break some teeth off. You're not doing anything to this bad boy, and it's so easy to clean. So for me, this is the only tool that I bring for styling. I do bring a blow dryer, which is multi-purpose for Sam and myself, and then I do bring my heated brush as well.
Yep. Oh, yeah, the Chicago comb. That's what I have in my toiletry bag right now.
Yeah.
Another funny travel tip, talking about what's in my bag right now. I'm traveling tonight. And yes, I got ready out of my travel bag this morning. And that's something after traveling a whole bunch and after doing 224 flight legs in a year.
Oh, I get it.
What you do is your brain can go on autopilot sometimes, and once in a while our autopilot is not perfect. And also once in a while when you're traveling a bunch, you won't notice that something that you need to use is actually almost gone. So what I do is the day before I travel. So say if I'm traveling in the morning, I actually do this 2 days beforehand. If I'm traveling at night, I do it the day before. I will take everything I'm going to need. I lay it all out and I get it all into my toiletry bag. The next morning I'm getting ready. I get ready and do my whole morning routine out of that toiletry bag. And what that forces you to do is make sure you have everything you need, because you're going to get ready full day and you're going to be like, oh, damn it.
Yeah.
I forgot about this, or oh man, I forgot about that. And oh, this was empty. Oh man, I didn't know that was empty. Right. And then so next thing you know, you're going to get a new travel toothpaste or a new travel toothbrush or whatever. But word to the wise, if you're going to pack and go for a trip and you don't want to have to be hitting the store, get ready out of your kit that you travel with.
That's, as my son Maddox would say, big brain move right there. But yes, show them the pants.
Well, okay, so pants are important when you're traveling, right? And Jill's like, well, you should just wear them all day. It's not like you have to be on camera in your pants for video. And now she goes and tells me to wear comfortable pants to the office, then makes me show them off on the stream. But I guess it's a good point. Is you always want comfortable pants for traveling. They got to have pockets. And in my experience, even if they're comfortable, you don't want open pocket pants, right? They need zippers when you're in an airport.
True.
If you got to lay down somewhere, you got to do something, get into a bag, you're bending, you're pulling stuff out of your pockets and back in. You don't want to lose anything. So I like to get comfortable pants, like a pair of joggers or something. And I like them to have zippers on the back pocket so I can keep my wallet there like it normally goes. I'm one of those freaks where my stuff has to go in a certain pocket, right? You got a certain pocket that can hold keys and other miscellaneous stuff. You got one that holds your phone. You got one that holds your wallet. And that way, if you're walking away from somewhere, you can do a quick pat down. Yep, got all my stuff.
Yep.
Like everything's in the pocket it's supposed to be in. If you don't do that, I don't know how anyone keeps track of their stuff. Just FYI,
I do that.
You're a monster if you don't do that. But these things are awesome. These are like Viore joggers.
You know? So I've never heard of that brand before.
Oh, they are life-changing. Absolutely life-changing. Good ankles, not too tight.
Yeah.
Which is nice. They're kind of a stretchy material, but they still, they're clean, presentable. They look good. But they're not going to give you that, sweat pant butt when you're walking through the airport, looking all saggy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that look personally, like looking a little more polished, but still be comfortable. But no, Viore, these are their Sunday performance joggers. They got a little bit of a DWT water protection on the outside. Spills, things like that, getting wet, things rubbing against you at the airport, beads right off, which is awesome. Dude, yeah, Brennan, head on over, man.
He would like, those exact ones you have on, he would like to try on.
Yeah, perfect. Yep. I'm gonna be at Logan in like 4 hours. We can make that happen. We got the Viores though, guys. I mean, they got these Ponto shorts and pants. They're literally the softest things you've ever felt. And I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna go look these things up, and you're gonna be like, $100 joggers. I do not need $100 joggers. And then you try them on, and you're at an REI, right? So you can return it a year from now if you want to. And you're like, well, maybe I'll just try them. And you try them on, and then next thing you know, they grow in your closet. You then have two, because you don't want to mess up the one pair when you're wearing another. You got one for the gym and one for something else. These things have a terrible way of multiplying, but they last forever. They're made insanely well. They don't come apart. I love them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey guys, you are amazing. Got a big group coming through, but you guys are amazing. I literally learned a ton today and had some food for thought to consider for the future, especially when I'll be flying. And so, man, I appreciate that. We will be live back in the normal setting on Tuesday next week, even though I thought this went really smooth and really well. And so thank you guys for all the interactions, the engagements. Nick, you got 1 minute left. Go ahead and take them away, sir.
Oh man. So one last comment, Jay Spears, I hate sweatpants / joggers. I was in that same boat, my friend. I am the only person you will find in New England that is not willing to go to the grocery store in sweatpants. I won't do it. I will put on hard pants. And if I have joggers that look like sweatpants, I won't wear them out of the house. I do not like leaving looking like I'm in sweatpants. It's just not who I am. I'm in, hiking pants or jeans. That's just where I'm at. And until I found the right ones, it's just like one of those things. It's just all about till you find the right one that speaks to you. But you never know, open mind. But yeah, guys, it was great kicking off my last couple of minutes here in the office with you. That's for sure. I'm literally dropping off this, shooting home for one last quick call, and then I'm out getting ready for the airport. So what an awesome way to wrap up the beginning of the week. I'll be sending stuff out with some good photos. It looks like Dan's got the entire PGA Tour walking behind him there. So yep. There's a golf event going on at his hotel. So
yep.
You, as the Big Lebowski would say, you, sir, are clearly not a golfer.
I'm not. I didn't even know that they had a PGA Tour event here. And it's going on this week.
Getting your beard caught in your hand for the backswing. It's just an easy way to rip out some hairs. It's no good. We don't need that.
Nope.
All right, guys. Well, take it easy. Thanks for all the awesome feedback. And I mean, this again wouldn't be what it is without you guys. This is tons of awesome info. And I'll be sending photos from the journey, as will Dan. And we will see you guys next week.
All right, guys.